Hey everyone, it's Miss Renee again coming to you from my home art studio. I hope you had a great week. I've got another great Family Art Friday project for you. So let's get started. Today we're going to try our hand at weaving. Weaving is an ancient art form that dates back as far as ancient Egypt and has been prevalent in many cultures since then. Navajo rug weavers create beautiful textiles by using weaving, and even modern-day basket weaving uses the same techniques we're going to use today. So let's give it a try. Here are some recommended materials for this project. You're going to need a piece of cardboard. Mine already has a circle drawn on it. If you want, you can get something round that you can trace to make a circle, but it doesn't have to be perfect. A pair of scissors. And then the main thing you want is a bunch of different types of yarn, string, ribbon. I've got some thin string here that I'm actually going to use to make my loom. I've got some different thicknesses of yarn. I've even got some tissue paper you can use, kind of like ribbon. This is a roll of tulle I had. Use whatever you have around. Cat. You might want a cat for this project. Just kidding. Cats love yarn. The first thing we're going to do is cut the circle out of our cardboard. That's actually going to be our loom for this project. A loom is a tool that weavers use. It holds what they call the warp threads, and the warp threads are what we are going to weave the other material, like the yarn and the ribbon, in and out of. Those materials would be known in weaving as the weft threads. After you have your circle, we're going to cut some little notches that are going to hold our warp threads. So I've done one at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. I'm going to do 9 and 3 opposite each other. And then I'm going to do one in between each of those. You could make more if you want. It may depend on who's doing the project. Older children might want more, and younger children, you might keep it to a little less. Ultimately, how many notches and warp threads you have are going to determine how tight your woven piece is. So now we're going to string our loom with our warp thread. So I took the thinnest string I have, and you want to put it through 2 opposite notches, so 12 and 6. And then on the back of your loom, you're going to tie it into a double knot so it doesn't move around. I cut off my tail so it's one less piece of string to get in the way. And then you're going to continue to string your loom by going around the circle and putting the string into all of the little notches or slits that you made with your scissors. When you're done, you're going to flip it over and tie off the end. Then you can turn it over, and you want to just tweak it a little bit so all of your strings intersect in the center. Now for the fun part, we get to start weaving. So I'm going to take my first kind of yarn or string that I'm going to use and tie it on one of the warp threads. Remember, the threads on our loom are called the warp threads, and the threads that we're weaving are called the weft threads. So I'm taking my weft thread and I'm going to start weaving. The whole premise of weaving is that you alternate going under and over the threads on your loom. So you go around in a circle, alternating under one and over the next one, under one and over the next one. Starting it is honestly the hardest part. So if you're working with little ones, you might want to get it started for them in the middle. The yarn there tends to move around a little bit more before it's established. So if you could do a couple passes around, they should be able to pick it up easier after that. There's no set amount of times you need to go around or use one particular yarn. I probably went around 7 or 8 times with this one. And then I cut it off and I'm going to tie it up to one of the warp threads so it doesn't move around. don't worry about any tails or anything sticking out right now. At the very end, we'll be able to go and tuck everything back in. So now I'm ready to start with my second kind of yarn or string. I'm actually going to try out this tissue paper. So I just ripped a long strip of tissue paper and I'm kind of twisting it all together. The cool thing about using different materials like tissue paper, ribbon, yarn, it's going to give your final project a really cool diversity of textures. So I'm going to try this tissue paper. I'm going to tie it up to one of my warp threads there. And then I'm going to start weaving with this new material. Now, one tip I do have is every time you switch materials, switch which threads you are going over and under. So because there's an even number of spokes on our loom, if you just go over, under all the way around, you're always going to be going over the same warp threads and under the same warp threads. So when you switch material, you can switch which one you're going over and under, and that'll make the threads be a little more hidden in your final project. So give that a try. After a couple passes with the tissue paper, I'm going to switch it up again and use another kind of yarn. This one's a little thicker and bulkier. And then I'm going to integrate some ribbon. I like this ribbon because it's nice and shiny, so it'll add some metallic interest to my project as well. And now I've got an even thicker yarn, again, a different texture. And every time I'm switching different yarns or materials, I'm switching if it goes over or under the spokes of my loom. Now I'm tying off my last piece of yarn and I'm going to go around, under and over a couple more times before my project is complete. You basically want to fill up your whole loom to make a neat circular composition. And after you've filled your whole loom, you can go back through and see if there's any tails hanging out or adjust. Like I don't like how this ribbon is sitting particularly, so I can tuck that in or fluff things out until you're happy with your final composition. And then you're pretty much done. I think these make a great little wall hanging, something interesting to have around your house. And I hope you enjoyed making with me today. We'll be back next week for another Family Art Friday. If you do the project, please share with me. We'd love to see what you do. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.